Greetings, everyone. I'm Tawnya Love, and welcome to today's Tawnya Love Show. Hope you're all having a beautiful and blessed day wherever you are watching from. I have had a pretty interesting week, as many of you probably are that are mothers out there registering your kids for school and just getting ready for school. So I'm just sending lots of love to all of you as you prepare for that. And if any of you weren't able to tune in today live, I understand. So hopefully you'll be able to tune in next time. Today's show is going to be about living with integrity and living authentically. And I've had so many clients come to me that have had a lot of suffering in their lives when they were not able to. It's not that they weren't able to align and live this way, they didn't feel ready. They didn't feel the world would accept them or receive them if they were to be authentic. And so I felt just this last week was all about messages of authenticity and integrity. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. On another note, from last week, we were talking about manifesting miracles. And I had some interesting things happen where I had asked some Facebook friends just to send love and light and hold space because my son and I were going to be going to court and to deal with some stuff that I won't get into the details of. But I had taken the time to write the judge a letter and kind of explain what had happened with my son from his dad and things that he had gone through personally. And I had sent the letter, didn't really know if they ever received it or not. There was no confirmation back that they had got it. But when we went to court that day, we went up and talked to the judge, and he was asking my son some questions, and I was just kind of standing there offering support. And then he said to my son, "You know, your mom wrote a really amazing letter, and she has a lot of wisdom, and she makes a lot of great points here with what she's saying." And so he was addressing things that I had written in the letter about justice and about really what these children need when they get into some kind of trouble. They don't really need to be judged and punished. What they really need is some guidance, and they need to learn, and we need to support them with love and to help them learn from what they've done and what they've gone through, not necessarily what they've done. And so anyhow, it was interesting because I had held focus and asked the angels to assist in having a fine just waived and community service being offered in replace of the fine, because it was a really steep fine. And from my perspective, I was like, me as a mother, I'm a good mom, and me getting fined for this is not going to help anything. It's not going to teach anything. But community service being offered and loving others and helping in the community would be a great way for him to learn some things. And so in my letter, I addressed that, and this judge blew me away. So I held the focus. I had a few friends holding that same focus, and then a lot of Facebook friends just, praying and sending love and light that everything would go well. Well, the miracle is that I asked for that fine to be waived and that community service be offered, and that I would even leave an impression in this court system of justice. And so as the judge is telling my son that he's going to do something, the way he said is, "I'm going to do something I never do." And he said, "I am going to waive this fine." And he said, "Because I agree with your mother and she makes a lot of sense. And so I'm actually going to give you 40 hours of community service, and, we hope that we don't ever have to see you again." And I was kind of in agreement with that. And then as we were going over to get the paperwork from him, he said to me, "Miss Love, it has been an honor to have you in my courtroom today." And I just had tears in my eyes of not only having the assistance given that was needed, but for him to show such honor and to actually really listen to me and to understand that I had intelligence and I had a voice and a perspective. And the reason I'm sharing this is because so many of us at times feel like things happen and we're powerless. We feel like we have nothing we can do about it. And so we just accept it. And then we're angry and we get frustration and we get angry and we want to fight systems that aren't working, but we really don't go and face them. And so I just wanted to share this example, not at all to brag on my side, but to show you as a mirror that taking that time to actually speak your truth, taking the time to actually ask for what you want and to expect it and to hold space for it and to call in others to hold space for it was miraculous. And I hope that that'll help some of you that maybe are going through things where you feel like it's hopeless, or that you're not sure what to do about it, because it's never hopeless, and every one of you is always receiving exactly what you need to receive for whatever your mission is. So if we stop adding resistance and trying to tell the universe that we're mad about things that are coming and we don't want to deal with them, and instead face what comes in and deal with it and go right into it and look into it and speak your truth, it's so much more powerful. And I wanted to share the last detail of this story is, as I went into the clerk's office to get all the checkout paperwork done, I handed her the papers about, what the judge had made his decision and everything. And the woman was like, I don't understand. Like, and she was saying some kind of code word I didn't understand. And another woman walked over and they're both looking at the computer screen and they're like, what is this? Like, they're like, this, we've never seen anything like this before. And they're looking at it. And then one of the women said, the judge is just waiving the fee. Like, can he even do that? And then I explained that I had written a letter and that I had explained myself, and the judge had said he was going to do something he never did, and that he was waiving that fee and giving my son community service. And the woman's like, I don't even think he can do that. And then the other lady was just, they were both just like stunned. And then they looked at each other, and I was in my mind right then like, angels, just help this all go through, just keep it flowing. And all of a sudden the woman said, if the judge said it, the judge said it, and so give her the paperwork for the community service. And I walked out of there, and I was so excited how powerfully I had held my space during that, and how I had showed my children through an example that you can stand up to anything and you can make a difference. And I personally felt that that was an amazing moment, not only for my child, but for the judge. I feel like I really planted some seeds of awareness in him that could possibly change the way he even rules in his court. And I knew when I was in that clerk's office that the angels had assisted, because the women were just in total shock of what was going on, like, as if it was something that just was not real. And that's a good sign when you know there's angelic assistance, because things are flowing in a way that other humans that are a part of a system don't even understand. And when we went out, my son thanked me and really saw an amazing example of, what he could be, what he could stand up for in his own life, and how he could live differently. And I just wanted to share that, first of all, to thank all of you who are sending love and light, and also just to help remind you how powerful you are, and to help you remember that nothing is ever too big. It's like that David and Goliath thing. We look at the government, or we look at education, or we look at healthcare, we look at the court systems as they're these huge giants, and that we're not able to do anything about them. And it's ridiculous, and it's not true. And each individual situation that comes along, when you remember that you're one with Source, you remember you have a powerful team of angels to assist you, and you focus on what you want, not what you don't want, you will be amazed what you manifest. And I wanted to share that with all of you, because it was beautiful. It was an amazing miracle, and I wanted to share it with you. So I hope that helps some of you in some way. So I just will remind everyone that you have opportunity to make use of this show. We would encourage you and welcome you to write in or call in if you have questions or comments, because we love to hear where you're at and what's going on with you. So please take that opportunity and, write in. If you don't want to use your own name, you don't have to. You could totally make up a name if you want to stay, private and not have people know who you are. But if you are having questions or comments, share. We would love that. Back to our living with integrity and living with awareness and authenticity. I've had so many people coming this past few weeks with this exact thing going on. People who have lived entire lives behind the shadows, like acting basically. And many of us do this. We'll pretend something, we'll give an appearance of something, and there's a cost to that. There really is. And I've helped so many clients who are souls. I don't think of them just as clients, but they are clients. But so many souls that I have connected with who have struggled to be who they really are because they're afraid of others not accepting them. And it's often their own closest people to them, their family members, their people at work. They worry so much of being accepted. And I feel like one of the most important vital nuggets of living authentically is coming to a place where you no longer have the fear of what everyone else is thinking about you. There's this amazing liberating moment that will happen for every soul as it awakens, where it no longer is motivated by impressing or trying to prove anything, but its true motivations are coming from alignment, coming from speaking truth, coming from that place of justice and liberation and freedom. And until we really grasp that, it may seem so far away, but I'm just here to help you all see that it's not that far away. It's just a choice. We choose to either pretend to be or we choose to be. We choose to speak our heart, to speak our truth, regardless of what may happen from that choice, or we choose to swallow the words. We choose to suffocate and hold back our expression. And the price is very high. I have seen humans who have suffered from disease and sickness from this, to people who suffer with deep depression because of this, people who just live such misaligned lives because they're so afraid of what others would say if they lived a different way, that it's like they almost start to forget who they even really are. And I just feel like the most important part of our being free and our enjoying our life is living with authenticity. If we're not being true to self, then everything we're doing is coming from a misaligned place. So is being truthful and authentic important? Yes, very much so. Will there be many humans in your life who won't and who will not have integrity? Yes, absolutely. And should you choose alignment and integrity anyway? Absolutely. So you kind of get into this place where we can look at the world and see that there's misalignment. Any of us can look out right now and kind of observe and see misalignment happening everywhere. We'll look over here and see hatred, hypocrisy, judgment, abuse. We can see it everywhere. People with corruption, they're taking too much, they're lying, they're stealing. And then we can also look inward and see, what is it I am doing? What is it that I can shift in this world? How can I be a positive change? And that's where the real work happens, is when we're not just looking out judging, but where we start to look within. And I had a situation happen today that I was kind of like back and forth about, should I mention today? And I went into meditation and I felt it happened for a reason and I should mention it. And it was interesting because I have different people on Facebook who are friends, and people's posts that I see, and some that will come to me as a source of information or wisdom when they're struggling to express something. And I had this man tag me in a post where he was talking about basically his higher conscious awareness was seeing above the judgment. It was seeing that there didn't need to be a good or a bad. And I understood where he was coming from. However, he had a woman come and comment on his wall, and she just started to lash out with judgment. She started using things it was interesting to observe how she took what little we said and twisted and turned it into so much assumption. And there was so much fear in her, so much judgment. And then she started to use Christ, and she started to say all these things about Christ and how we were hypocrites. And what did she call us? She said that we were batshit crazy. And she said we were delusional. And there was just all these things that she was saying, and she was going on about how people need to get out there and do some work and make a difference, and we got to protect the innocents, and how that we were just like insane because we were trying to pretend that everything was perfect. And she just went on and on and on. And I observed what she was saying. I observed her energy and felt her energy, and I could feel the torment inside of her with the fact that she would choose to lash out and judge and call names to people she really didn't know. And then to use Christ was interesting to me to observe. And the reason I say this is because so many of you that maybe are afraid to be authentic, it comes at this deeper place of being afraid of what others are going to think about you, what they're going to feel about you. Will they judge you because you think differently than them? Will they judge you because maybe you bring sense and you bring them alignment and awareness and they don't want it? And this experience happened to me literally just a few hours before the show. And so I was just processing it all like, whoa, like where's this woman's anger coming from? And I have the wisdom at this point in my journey to recognize that this anger and this hatred of this woman have nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her inner battle that's going on. She has a battle inside, and she's angry, and she's lashing out, and she wants someone to suffer because she's suffering. And I get that. However, I watched and observed how the man that she was talking to, he started to kind of cater and enable to what she was saying, and which actually, from my observation, helped him in a way to lose the power of what he was trying to express. And then as he did that and kind of catered and tried to align with her, I feel coming from a protective place to calm her down and not have her yell at him, then she started to lash out at me directly. And I didn't really care if she was lashing out at me because I knew it wasn't about me, but it was an interesting thing to observe, the whole situation. And what I saw from it is this is an amazing example of why so many are afraid to be truthful and speak. I would speak back to her and I would talk about Christ consciousness. I would speak back to her and say, you are so loved and there is so much going on within you, and it would be wise for you to tune in and turn inward and figure out what's going on inside of you. Why are you so angry? Why are you hating people so much that you are hating someone that you don't even know? Like, she knows nothing of my life, and she was judging and assuming that I do nothing to help society, which to me was funny because of how much I actually am doing. And I didn't need to argue with her. I didn't need to prove anything to her, but it was interesting. And as I was helping her to kind of see, there's this thing that I've experienced with the religious hatred that is just a very insane energy where you start to project about Christ while you're hiding behind a Christ image of love and all this, and you're clinging to this Christ place, but at the same time your words are hateful and judgmental and they're very hurtful. And so what I was hoping to help her see is that it's one thing to take an image of someone and hide behind it. It's another to understand the consciousness. And the consciousness of Christ is about unity. It's about oneness. It's about love. There is no separation. I don't have to hate her because she's being hurtful to me. And I didn't. Not at all during that dialogue was I hateful. But did I speak truth? Did I challenge her to help her to look in and see what's going on in her to cause such hatred? Absolutely. And did she start to despise me more? Yes. And so what I'm saying this for is that so many of you that are coming to this place where you want to be true to self, you want to align with source, and you want to have integrity, a big part of that's going to come from when you stop caring so much about what everyone thinks. And if I cared every time I see a person lashing out, oh gosh, I hope she still likes me. I hope she doesn't unfriend me. Oh, I hope that, she's not mad at me. I'm not going to have any integrity. It's going to be really hard for me to speak truth because my ultimate concern is ego-based. It's based on what someone thinks of me. But if I'm in alignment and my intention is to speak truth and to help and assist any soul that is at a place to understand higher consciousness, then my intentions come from love. My intentions come from oneness and connection. And so the whole dialogue can be loving. And it was very loving. It was nurturing. It was truthful. I helped her. My attempt was to help her to tune in. Now, my being a messenger to help another is my job. That's what Tawnya does. What another does with that message, that's up to them. So I say this because this is a stranger on Facebook, but she's a reflection of society. She's a reflection of your family. She's a reflection of the church members that you're afraid to be truthful to. She was an amazing example come right to my face today so that I would speak about this for each of you that maybe are going through this fear of what the world will think of you if you were to be true to self. What will the world think of you if you spoke your truth? What would your mother say if you actually told her how you felt? What would your father say if you actually stood in your power? So many of us have been trained since birth to kind of go against ourselves, and we do it because we want to belong. We do it because we want to have people love us. And the human need for love and acceptance it's there. We need to all acknowledge that we have this desire for acceptance. However, if that desire and need for acceptance goes to such a level that you betray self, now you suffer. So the balance is really in being true to self and speaking with love, but not having an attachment to what others do with that. So I could show love to this woman. I could help her to see that Christ consciousness is here and that I work with this consciousness daily and that it is something that we can all be a part of. And that if she wants to really go into using Christ as an example while she's spewing hatred, she might want to remember what he represented, which was a consciousness of love and compassion and forgiveness, of patience, of kindness. He was speaking about being that, being the kindness when someone hates you, loving the enemy, loving the neighbor, even when they hate you. And I was experiencing and expressing that through energy and through presence while she was preaching about it while being hateful. And so is there a difference? Absolutely, there's a difference. And so this is where, as we wake up, we can start to see that us preaching and projecting and telling everybody in the world how we're supposed to be and that we're above them and they're below us and don't you know about Jesus, and we use this stuff in a hateful way, we're being counterproductive to our ultimate goal. If her ultimate goal is to help protect the innocents, is to help encourage and embody love, then if that is her intention, she's completely out of alignment. If her intention was to insult people who are loving and who are speaking in a way maybe she doesn't understand, and she wants to insult them and she wants to confuse them and try to trip them up so that she can feel superior and so that she can feel like she knows more, if that was her intention, she was successful. And that would be coming from an ego place. Ego place is always about separation. I'm above you, you're below me. I'm better than you, you're worse than me. It's all about separation. It's about lack, separation. Everything she spoke about was from fear and lack and separation. And as I was doing my best to encourage her to look at her own dialogue, and at one point I asked her, if you can go back and actually read everything that's been spoken in this dialogue and look at what you've said and really feel the energy of it. Look at what I've said and really feel the energy of it. I feel it could really help you to really see and to really feel and to really know. And then she just insulted again. And that's okay. And it ended up basically with my bowing to her and wishing her the best and then leaving that dialogue because it was clear there was not an opening there. And if there's not an openness, there's a wisdom in us that we could fight with something forever and try to fight it and try to change it, or we could just shine light to bring awareness because it seems like it's wanting that. And then when the resistance gets stronger and stronger and there's no opening, a soul like my own will just move away. And I have been called names for that. I've been judged from family members who are out of alignment, screaming at me on the phone when I hang up on them and they're angry, to where they're out of alignment, upset, yelling, and I walk out of the room and they call me a coward. You're so weak, you always walk away. I'm sharing with all of this with you because those of you who want to be authentic and you want to live in your power, get comfortable with that feeling, truly. Not that you should expect that. I would hope that my deepest places, I hope for each of you that those in your life are loving and supportive of your journey. And as you come out and you tell them that you're gay and you've never had the courage to tell them you're gay, they're going to love you regardless, and they're going to be there for you and authentically love you, and nothing will change. But if you do speak on this truth of what your sexual preference is and they lash out at you, this is just an example I'm using, they lash out at you, they judge you, they call you names, let them go. They're not open. You can do your best to speak truth. You can do your best to explain who you are, but souls that don't really care who you are will not care who you are, regardless of what you say. So it would really empower each of you to really look at your lives and like, who is it that I should take the time to express my deepest vulnerable truth? And if I've been taught that every time I go to my mother, that truth is destroyed and I am lashed out at and I'm judged and there's no awareness, then some wisdom inside could wake up in you to realize it's not best to go to mother. It's best to just speak this to my best friend or talk to my angels whoever it is that you feel really supports you, that's where you need to go in your most vulnerable times of growth and evolution. But I watch so many humans come from this needy place where they want that mother to approve of them. They want that father to love them. They want the husband to really support them, whatever it is. And they go in with that hope that that person will be there for them, ignoring a lifetime of how often they're not. And so part of our comfort of our journey will come from the wisdom of who to speak to about our deepest truth. There's times that it may be really important to speak our truth on something, like someone coming out on their sexuality. That may seem really important to you to speak to certain people, but to some people, it's really none of their business. And we have to kind of look into things like, do I really need to tell everybody about this in a way? Is this coming from love for myself that I'm telling everyone? Or do I feel like there's something wrong with me and I want to explain it to everyone so that I feel like they support me, because I'm not sure I support me. So a big part of our journey of being authentic is to look inside and feel that love for self. If I, Tawnya, love myself and I approve of myself, I really don't need much external approval at all. I may enjoy when someone comes and says, Tawnya, I love you. I bow to you. You're such a beautiful teacher and leader. And I have students who come to me and said that, and clients who just are like, I just see such light in you. And do I love that? Yes, and I bow back. That's beautiful. I love moments of honor. They're beautiful. But do I need them? Not at all. If I was assisting and clients were like, you know what, like this girl today, you're batshit crazy, woman, and they just storm off, am I going to cry and be upset about that? No. But I don't rarely draw that into my energy field. That's why I was surprised today. And it wasn't really like I was drawing her in. He was actually, this man tagged me to pull me into it because I felt he wanted me to bring awareness, and I got the intention. But I looked at it and I was like, yep, it's still insanity, and I'm going to go now because I don't need to be in that. And so part of our life, we look at what are we attracting? I attract clients who love me and honor me and show me the deepest respect because I love me, I honor me, and I have the deepest respect. I love others and I respect them, and I want to assist them in loving themselves. And so a lot of our suffering and our journey, we need to look at what do I feel I'm worth, or what do I feel I deserve. If I don't feel I deserve love, if I don't feel I'm worth love, then I'm going to attract the very energies in who are going to keep mirroring that to me until I awaken. So if this woman that was yelling at me today and angry, if she's been attracting a lot of violence and negativity, this is exactly what her soul has needed to awaken. And I can have the deepest compassion for her anger and her frustration, but is it going to help her to lash out at a healer and to insult her? Not really. And so we got to really look into our own stuff. If I'm angry and I'm not dealing with my stuff, then I'm going to spew it out to everyone and anyone who comes along. And then if I can't handle being truthful about that that was my choice, I'm going to put somebody's image up there and hide behind it like Jesus. And it's really insane to me. So I just felt like I wanted to express that situation today because I feel it's so symbolic of what many of you may have to face, is this deeper fear of being accepted and approved of. And we really have to go and ascend beyond that. We have to go beyond the need of approval to truly thrive and to truly feel happy and joyous. We need to be it inside. So I'm going to pause for a second. And Amnon, is there any questions or comments coming in at all?
Not yet.
Okay. Quick drink of water. So after I knew what the show was going to be about today, I went and I opened a couple books randomly and just was like, Source, what do you have that we can share today? And I opened up to perfect passages. One of them is from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. And I love reading this book sometimes when I'm teaching yoga. It's just a really beautiful meditation book. And this one is The Exercise of Gentleness. It says, I have no power of miracle other than the attainment of quiet happiness. I have no tact except the exercise of gentleness. This is from the Oracle of Sumiyoshi. This Shinto sage from the hills of Japan affirms what we all know in our hearts but seldom honor. I have worked hard to give up attaining a place ordained by others in the world. for this always leads me into noise, confusion, and gruffness. Often it is some grief or pain that halts me, jars me into remembering the exercise of gentleness that opens the quiet world. The truth is that more than forgetting this, some unloved part of me whispers insistently that I can have both. Foolishly, I tend to listen out of pity or pride, only to find out painfully again and again that it just doesn't work. In beautiful mystery, the extraordinary edge to everything is covered over with a current of speed and noise. The beautiful stones are not quite seeable under the rush of the river's face. Only when we can still the river of the world and the river in our face do things become extraordinary and clear. So this one's a meditation, and it's just like if you want to close your eyes for a moment and just breathe deeply and just notice how your field of attention widens as you take deep breaths and you just look around you and really observe your world. Go into the first thing that shows you its quiet happiness. So if you're sitting there and you just see your cat just blissfully laying there, maybe you tune into the happiness of that cat, that quiet happiness. Breathe before it slowly and speak to it with your gentleness. And I feel this was such a great page to open to, because what it's really talking about is going within and being still. Every time I have a healing client or before I do this internet show, I will go into meditation, and it's not from some kind of like a rigid ritual that I have to do. It's because I understand the power of that silence. If I'm in the busy world and it's noisy and we're rushing around, it's really easy to lose our higher consciousness, and our focus can become unclear. We can become scattered and fearful very easily and very quickly. And when I come away from that busy world and I go into meditation and still my mind, it's just like when it's talking about the stillness in the water, I can see the rocks beneath the surface. I can look in deeply and feel the emotions, feel the energy. And so when I'm working with healing clients, being an intuitive healer, this is a very vital part of my day, because then it quiets the mind. And I'll tell my clients that it's like my mind becomes a still pond. And then I can just receive and be very receptive to any impressions that come into the water. Instead of when I'm busy and I'm rushing around, if I'm living like that, I rarely am in this energy, but if you look out at society, if you look out at the way the world encourages you to go, it's very busy, it's very scattered and loud noises, and there's not much time to think or feel. Just go, 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 do more, turn up the music louder. And we'll never really know ourselves in that chaos. And so part of the wisdom here to be true to self is the journey inward, and meditation has been such a friend to me. I give such honor for, I don't even know when I first was led to meditation, as far as like what book did I read. I don't really recall. I know my father's suicide led me to explore inward of what I needed to know, because the external world was too painful and I had to figure out why and how to handle it. And so I give honor to my father for that. I give honor to his spirit and to Source for waking me up, because, and this, I give this as an example because so many times we'll use things and say they're good or bad, or they're evil, or they're loving, and we, as humans, we think we have a right to go and put a little label on everything, just like it's in our cupboard. Sugar, flour, we're like good, bad, evil, acceptable. And really, when we're doing that, we're just compartmentalizing everything in our world, and it becomes smaller and smaller and more tight, and it's not really free. It's not really able to flow and to have whatever the experience was meant to bring you to be there. We start to make it smaller. And by judging my dad's suicide, I could say that that was evil and that was terrible and that was bad. But when I'm really truthful and I'm in a higher consciousness with it and I'm observing the movie, I'm not just the little character Tawnya that's angry and lost and afraid, which I was for a while. But as I can pull out and I can observe all of that, I can see the beauty of it. I can see that that choice led to other choices. There was action that led to reaction. There was a shift and a consequence to everything. The law of cause and effect. in the spiritual laws of attraction, it's just like what we focus on, we draw our attention to. And we can see that everything has, in spirituality, we talk about karma. There's the same thing, law of cause and effect. Everything has a deeper solution or a deeper gift. And so if we can get away from this place to judge what's good, what's wrong, what's evil, which was the discussion that this man was trying to have with this girl today, that just did not seem to really get through to her. If we could go into higher consciousness, we could really start to see that we don't have to label things necessarily good and evil. Yes, we know when things are out of alignment and they're hurtful, but judging them, is that really helping anything in ourselves? Or is it actually just separating ourselves? It's causing this separation. What if we just went and leaned into it? What if when there's like Robin Williams committing suicide and it upset a lot of people and it got their attention? I went through that with my own father. I've lived that very intimately. What if we leaned into it? And what is this teaching me? What is this situation? What did this soul wake up in me? What is it that I could take from this as a gift? That one day could be one of the most amazing, beautiful moments of your life because you went into it seeking the gift. If you stand back in judgment, arms crossed, saying that's evil and wrong, what are you taking from it? You take nothing. It's like all these situations in life will happen around you and you will become more and more bitter and jaded and angry. And one day you might be on Facebook lashing out at healers, calling them batshit crazy and making fun of them because they dare to challenge your misalignment. They dare to help you to see deeper inside of yourself. I feel this is what is needed to heal society. The sickness of society is this very rigid approach to separation and standing back in judgment. We see it with the teams on, football teams, and people get violently angry about which team. We see it with politics. I'm Democrat, you're Republican. Well, I hate you just because you're Republican. Anything you say sucks. And it's insanity if we don't really come to this place where we wake up as humanity to the insanity. We just are going to create more and more suffering. It will continue. We have done a great job at it and will continue to do a great job at it, but there is another way. And this way takes work, inward work. It's where you refuse to be a participant any longer in that insanity. You can observe it, you see it still around you, but you don't choose to go in. You don't choose to go and be a hateful, vengeful person, no matter how much hate is thrown at you. When this girl today was lashing out at me and saying how I didn't, she was kind of projecting on me like I knew nothing of darkness. And I was just amazed at the foolishness of her to make such assumptions and judgment, because I have been through so much in my life. And because I've been through so much and because I understand that darkness and I have a different way of expressing, doesn't mean I've never been through it or that I'm ignorant to it. Far from it. I feel what it shows is that I've been through it, I've learned from it, but I've come above it. I'm no longer in it, fighting it. I'm no longer down there in the murky places. I kind of feel a symbol from Lord of the Rings might help, where if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, which I am, there's the scene with Gandalf when he's fighting the dragon and it looks like he dies. He falls down. But then the next movie you see, he's still alive, but he comes back Gandalf the White. And as Gandalf the Grey, he's fighting this dragon down to the depths. And to me, that was such a symbol of what each soul has to go to come out this pure channel. He was Gandalf the Grey. He was a wizard. He was a human. He had misalignment. And he was fighting this dragon and fighting that hatred and fighting it to the depths until he conquered it. And then he rose Gandalf the White. He was the pure one, the wizard, the light bringer. And so the symbol is there. It's a metaphor. And so many of us have the opportunity in every moment in our day to come to that place and to be that Gandalf of the White. You could come to this place where you can still fight and be in hatred, or you can rise above it and be the light bringer and be the one that's leading and the awakening and leading and assisting those around you with understanding and consciousness. It's all a choice. But for some, they will continue to say they have no choices. They will continue to project anger and hatred. And my highest hopes is that we will rise above that, and I will do everything I can. But today I give you a really great example of how no matter how much you've done, no matter how loving you you may still have people who will lash out at you with hatred and who will not understand you. And what my angels have said to me is when they once showed me an image of a dark room and I was a candlelight in that room, and they said, "This is what you are, you're the light bringer. And so you cannot lose energy or get frustrated." I mean, they were encouraging me not to lose energy or become frustrated when I didn't see the light around me, if I didn't see others who were bringing the light, because that was my mission, was to bring the light, to ignite it in others. So often I'm going to have darkness around me, but don't forget who I am. Don't go down with that darkness and forget what your mission is, what your purpose is. And so each of you that are out there and you're around people that are out of alignment and you're doing your best to live with integrity and to be authentic, all I encourage you to keep it simple is to remember you're the light. You are the light. You are love. You are worthy. You are one with Source. And all of those humans who are lost and projecting, you are one of them as well. That's a part of yourself. The more you can give honor and love to it, the less you're angry at it. Like, I didn't really feel like I was angry and wanted to punish this girl. I felt more of a compassion for her because she wasn't understanding yet. So I hope that can help you to see that there's things that we can do to kind of bring us together, or there's things that we'll choose that will create separation. I encourage the unity. Do you have a question, Amnon?
Yeah, there's a few of them. There are
Okay.
a few of them. Leanne is asking, what is the line between getting along with people and standing up for self? How do you know when that line is crossed?
Okay. That's a great question, Leanne. And that is a very fragile experience that you'll have to really be present with in yourself, because you can be tolerating and putting up with things for so long that you become accustomed to that. And you can think that this is normal and this is loving because you're tolerating, you're patient, you're compassionate. And toleration can be a beautiful thing. But if it gets to a point where you are feeling angry inside at yourself, you are feeling frustration at self because you've tolerated this one too many times, you'll know the feeling. You'll know when you've come to that edge. And part of it is, I feel like we have to become so mindful of our conditioning, because so many of us have been conditioned to tolerate abuse that we don't even oftentimes know when that line has been crossed. So for myself, I was abused most of my childhood and throughout my marriage, and so that emotional and mental and physical abuse, I learned to be very tolerant. I learned that I could tolerate a lot and still survive. But was I thriving? Not at all. So there came a moment for me in my own personal journey where I was like, I'm done. I am done with this. I deserve love. I deserve honor. I deserve respect. I deserve someone to speak to me with kindness and to show me kindness. And I'm done. And it was just like a moment. If you looked at it as a movie, there's a moment the character just realizes what's totally not going to be happening anymore, and she's done with it. And certain characters get fired from the movie. And then some new characters get brought in. So there's these moments where we know inside when we're feeling frustrated and angry at ourselves because we are not living in alignment with what we really deserve. That is your moment. And that is something that's very personal for every human. Some of us will tolerate abuse for a certain point of time because there was something we needed to learn, or there was something that we felt there was a mission to help with. I would say this: today is the day to be true to self. If you have had a lifetime of not being true to yourself and of doing everything to please someone who's out of alignment because you were trained to, have compassion about that, awaken and realize that you've been conditioned to do that, and then choose differently starting today. And each moment you will know what to do. You'll know the choice to make when you're being true to self. And so it's something that there needs to be so much awareness and presence there, because if we have this habit of not loving ourselves, it becomes so normal to not love ourselves. If we have a habit of tolerating less, it becomes normal to tolerate less. And so often if you have someone, like, it can be tricky with partners that you've been in for a long time, whether it's a mother partnership or a husband-wife relationship or a parent-child relationship. These can be very tricky at times because there's so much memory, cellular memory of how this person is or who they were, that as a soul starts to awaken and evolve, the soul that's not doing the awakening and not evolving will often continue to want to project what they see in this person on them because it's the way they want them to be. It's, you can learn this really quickly if you've not been living near family and you go back to visit at Christmas and you haven't seen those family members in maybe 4 or 5 years. Pay attention to how quickly you almost feel this expectation to go into the roles of what all the families think you should be, how grandma will treat you like a little child, and how, mother will talk to you in a certain way that irritates you and doesn't really see your intelligence. And it's a great test to see how far you've come with your awareness. And just watch how you interact with those people and realize that part of it is you're going to teach them. You're relearning how you're going to be, and you're going to teach them and how to learn who you are now. And some that really want to be in your life and love you, they will show up and they'll be willing to do that work with you. And those who've never really respected you or cared for you ever, they will continue to disrespect you and show you negativity and shame you and try to cause you guilt and always try to create a sense of resistance in your expansion. So if you can really not be attached to role and title, which is what Source always reminds me of, then you can expand into amazing places. But will you allow it? Your soul wants it. Your ego is terrified. So a lot of it comes down to knowing self and to get in there and clear the ego chatter and to clear the tendency to allow ego to rule. You don't need to kill your ego. There's no need to deny that part of yourself. Just tune into it and kind of give it love and honor. Thank you for being concerned. And now I'm going to be who I am now. I'm going to have integrity. I'm going to be a woman that's in my power, and I will not tolerate another moment of abuse. This is an amazing, powerful moment for your soul, but for the souls around you who have not done their work, they will definitely be in shock and often will try to hold you back. I call them the gatekeepers. When a soul's expanding, the gatekeepers will come up towards the gate and see if that soul is really going to be courageous. And you have to realize that there are gatekeepers and really open your eyes to see who they are. Who are the ones that want to keep breaking your wings and holding you down? Pay attention and don't stay attached when you understand who they are. Evolve anyway. That would be my advice for you. So okay. I hope that helped.
And Todd is asking, how does one know what is truth? So many religions, so many healers, so many Christians that say Christ is the only way. I'm numb to it all, really. But I know there is something spiritual in my life. And then he adds, is it this Christ consciousness that you talk about that is the way?
Well, I would say if we didn't even need to put a label on it, because partly what causes war and feuds and fighting and more chaos and confusion is the very human need to put labels and titles. I would say if you want to keep it very simple and authentic, is just know that there is a deep connection that your body and your mind connect to a source of energy. This is your intelligence, your consciousness. And as you take the time to go into that still space inside and realize, I am more than this body. I am more than Todd, the character. I am more than the mind. Who am I? You start to really tune into that deeper question. You're the one observing Todd. You're the one observing his thoughts. You're the one observing the choices he makes. That is the consciousness. This is source energy, what I call source. Some people have called it a god or a goddess. The trick with that I don't feel a connection with is that a god has been projected as this male energy. It's like an angry father that if you please father, you will be rewarded. And if you displease father, you're going to hell. And I don't necessarily relate to that concept of a male energy. I do understand where it came from and that many of us that are afraid of father figures would come to this conclusion. Or that there's a goddess, if we feel a fear of our mother, she's going to strike you down and lava will melt your face or whatever. It's like, the pagan rituals will talk about the goddess and that she's beautiful and she will give to you when you're in alignment. And if you're out, she will destroy you. What I feel personally is that this feminine masculine energy is within us. It's the consciousness of unity. And what I feel Christ represented was unity consciousness. His consciousness was not Christ. Christ was his name. But because we recognize him as such a human that brought such a profound awakening to the planet, Buddha was another. Many will talk about the Buddha mind or the Zen way. There's Christ consciousness. These are just humans that came to the planet to awaken humanity and assist them. So let's give an example. And I'm not at all saying this is going to happen to me or that I'm even in this place. But imagine 200 years from now, they're talking about Tawnya. And they were like, she was the daughter of God. And she brought this awareness. And people could do this. They could turn my image into this thing, create a religious movement, and then talk about me being the way. It would be out of alignment. I, Tawnya, am not the way. But the consciousness I speak of, the consciousness I am one with that I'm speaking of, is the alignment. It is the wisdom. It is the love. It is the healing space. So Christ, being a human, came in. Well, he was Jesus Christ. And they gave it the name the Christ consciousness because the consciousness is really what was streaming in to assist Christ with who he was teaching. His followers and his disciples were learning from his wisdom, but the consciousness is not something you can grasp and put a name to if you're really honoring it. If you're trying to label it and mark it and sell it and create a religious movement, sure, go ahead. If you're trying to control and corrupt people because they're not doing it the way you say, you'll give it a different name and you'll try to control people and shame them. This is really where humans have taken the consciousness and not understood it, and then took an image of a man and used his image in a way that I feel is just really sick. And that's my opinion, and people can get angry or love me for that opinion. I really don't mind either way. It's just my observation of humanity's insanity again, of our insanity to want to create movements and wars that are about someone being named a certain name. It's happening in the Middle East right now. There's countries that are dang right determined their God is this, and they're not having the same God, and we're going to kill them all. It's insanity. And they're worrying about going to hell. They are creating hell. They're in hell now. They're creating their own movie of hell. We have the opportunity to create our movie of hell, or we could create a heaven on earth. So the way I look at it is it's all symbols, but the masculine and the feminine, when you bring them together and you don't deny either, you have unity, you have the oneness. This is the wholeness, the yin and the yang. When that is active in you, you are connected to a higher consciousness. This is the Christ consciousness or source energy. I like to call it source energy because in a flower, in a cat, in a dog, in a tree, source energy is flowing. Source energy is here assisting with the moon and the tides and the ocean waves and the humans and their evolution and the animals. The consciousness is here, and we can connect to that consciousness. Many of us have met animals or children that are so intelligent that they can blow your mind, like, whoa, what is going on there? Like, they're so aware. This is their consciousness. They are aware. It doesn't matter what form they're in. Just because we're in a small form doesn't make me any less powerful. If I'm in a male body or a female body, does not make me less powerful if we understand truth. But when we get into our society's way of teaching, if you're in a female body, you are less valuable. Look around. Look at the messages. You're less intelligent. You don't deserve as much pay. You're weaker. You're not as powerful. You can't take care of things. If I look at my reality with that, that's not true. But if I look out at what society says, this is what we're told. We're kind of seductively encouraged to believe in this misalignment. Source energy is streaming through me. It's streaming through Todd. It's streaming through Amnon right now. All of us are connecting, and we have an ability and an opportunity to allow higher consciousness in at any moment. But many of us, when we betray ourselves, when we betray our truth, we will step out of alignment. So remember when I refer as alignment as like the light hitting me right now, there's like a beam of light. And if there's lights coming down like a cylinder in the room, and I step into that light, I am in alignment. I am love. I know I'm the living light. The source energy, Christ called it the living light. He said, I am the great I am, and I am the living light. This is what he was talking about, the consciousness. He is the living life force that's streaming through. He wasn't the body. He looked out and saw the insane people that did not understand his message. He came in with it, but they weren't ready. It's like me talking to the girl today. I can give her the message. She's not ready. That's okay. I'm probably not going to go hang out with her because she's one that's unstable, probably would try to drown me or something. And so, not that I'm in fear of that, but I'm just saying when we look at society, Christ was around these people, surrounded by them. He felt they were going to betray him. He felt such awareness. His consciousness was turned on. And he spoke of the messages of truth anyways. Do you see the courage that takes? The courage to speak truth, to be loved right to the end when they're murdering him and they're hating him and they're lashing out at him, publicly humiliating him. And he looks out and asks Spirit to forgive them because they don't understand what they're doing. This is the consciousness that I'm talking of. It's, I can look out and see the insanity and not be too concerned with it. I don't need to be attached to it, even at the moment that maybe they're going to take my life. Huge courage needed to come to that place of understanding. And if each of us came to that place where we were so truthful, so honorable, we did not live in fear, think of the power that, and think of how much would shift on this planet. If each of us woke up, there's a movie, and I'm not for the vengeful part of this movie, but V for Vendetta, an amazing movie where it shows this man who has been so hurt, and so many have been hurt, and he's observed that, but he goes out for vengeance. But in the end, there's so much wisdom to the understanding of the humans that he needed to awaken. Now, how he went about it, different than I'm going about it, but I'm not going to judge it because this was his way. And if you watch the film, there's a moment where the human beings, the society who's been controlled by the media, they've been controlled and fed all this stuff, they start to wake up and question it. They start to go right towards the military that are trying to control them and scare them, and they walk right through them. It's an amazing moment in the film if you watch it, because what it's showing, it's again a symbol of the humans are no longer afraid, and these are the military and the government, and don't you mess with us, and they just walk right through them. And it's this sense of, I am liberated, nothing here controls me. And it's not fighting. Those who want to go and they want to be hateful and they want to fight it, it's not as powerful. It's kind of like what I was just reading. There's a wisdom in the gentleness. There's a gentle way that on our planet, its time has come to honor, and this is the divine feminine. We've been very masculine focused, male energy focused of action and making things happen and annihilation. We'll punish, you name it, we'll bring it to you. But there's been very little awareness and honor for the feminine, for the compassion, for the gentleness. In fact, in my journey, I'll speak in my own, in my family, gentleness is often looked upon, has been looked at, not my family now, but we're the abusive family, gentleness was often looked upon as weakness. I've helped so many clients who have had to admit that they just have to do it all and they can't ask for help, because if I ask for help, I feel like that's weakness. Do you see what we've created? Society's created this insanity where now, because we have to be so tough, we can't even ask for help, or we're weak. And there's this part of us that needs to awaken where when we understand we're one with Source, that we are the living life force. If my body's taken, this is a form. It's like a costume I'm wearing, just like these clothes I'm wearing. At the end of the day, I'll take them off. They'll drop on the floor. I'll hang them up or throw them in my laundry pile. And I won't cry because they served me. I wore them today. I'm done wearing them now. Tomorrow, I'll choose a different costume or a different outfit. Our body is very much like that. Our soul chooses a form, and then when the time comes that it's no longer serving us, we'll drop the form. Our soul will continue. The journey will continue. I feel a big part of our spiritual liberation comes when we realize we're not afraid of death. In the movie V for Vendetta, another scene in there is where he actually holds her as a prisoner to teach, and you'd have to watch it to understand. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely watch the film and kind of just observe it. But he's teaching her that when she gets to a moment where she doesn't care if she dies, that she will stand in her alignment no matter what, she's free. And she's angry at first when she realized what he put her through, but her soul was free. And so many of us have gone through darkness, and we've gone through hurtful things to teach us how to be free again. Because we have bought into this system of believing that we are controlled, that we are less than, that we are not enough on our own. We've gone looking for the answers in others. We've asked others, what do I need to be? And we go and we get degrees, or we go and we join clubs or cults or whatever to fit in and belong. And we still feel empty. We still feel this hunger for deeper, for more meaning and more truth. And I feel that the truth Todd's asking about is the source energy, and it's available now. There's no one holding that key. Nobody holds control of that. Any other questions, Amnon?
Let's do that real quick. First of all, Kathy's saying, "You go, girl. Tell it like it is." Amen.
Thank you.
And then Leanne is adding something to the how to get along with people. She's adding another question. She said, also, sometimes the best response to some people is no response. It doesn't
True.
help. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And there's a time that, this is where I say it's a very gentle, like, it's like walking this very gentle, fragile tightrope. And this is really, life is very delicate balance. And when we really start to honor the balance, we'll really understand where the balance will be found. And yes, there's times where someone will come in and they're just out of alignment, and they are. And sometimes it's just best to not even go there. Maybe you've had, like, I have family members like this, for example, where I have taken the time to explain and try to help them and to help them see, and they don't want to see. They don't want to understand. And they go right back into that place of judgment and fear. And so there comes a day where you could do that again if you really want to, if you just want to hear yourself talk. And then there's also an opportunity where you realize, you know what? They're not really open. It's like the woman today in the conversation, the lashing out girl on the conversation. I just got to a point where I've definitely given you some time. I've shown you honor. I've done my best to help you understand. And at this point, I release you with love. And she didn't even know what to do with that. And she even made fun of me for doing that. But I didn't care. I wasn't going to waste any more time talking to her because she wasn't open. So yes, what Leanne's saying is definitely true. There's time where we can put the energy there because we feel it will be beneficial. And then there's a time where the energy doesn't feel like it's going to really be beneficial. So we just send them love anyway and then move on. And so it's really important that we just always know to stay centered in love is what Source brings through me right now. And the angels have said that to me so many times. The darkness, the low vibrational energies, they're coming in. Stay centered in love. Remember who you are. So my message to all of you watching today, if you can just get this one thing, you will be free. If you can always stay in awareness that you are one with Source and stay centered in love, that is really your mission. This is what we're on the planet to do. If I can really embody the space of staying centered in love and staying connected with Source as my primary focal point, then everything else will kind of take care of itself. I'll know what to say. I'll know when to not speak. I'll know when to take action. I'll know when to step back and not take action. It becomes this really beautiful dance of the yin and the yang. It's time to do. It's time to be. There's wisdom in the meditation process, and it's not about achieving anything like externally. It's about awakening and remembering who you are. That is the power of meditation. And if you don't want to awaken and you don't want to remember who you are, you're probably not going to take the time to actually understand that. You're going to just want to fill up that emptiness externally. Go buy a new motorcycle, get a new girlfriend, go get a bigger house. It's all out there. We can definitely distract ourselves for many lifetimes and play the game and forget the deeper parts of why we're here. I would encourage you to each tune in to realize that if you remember you're one with Source and you are love, and you are loved, and you are worthy, you are supported. The universe does want you to thrive. But you can't be looking at your misaligned humans for that love, or you will not feel joy. You need to know that you are the love and stay centered in it. You need to be the light bringers because many around you are not in the alignment. And if you're looking for their love, you're looking for that, you're looking in all the wrong places. So that's something to really stay mindful of. I have one other thing I was going to read before we finish that also is connected to this topic today, and it's by Eckhart Tolle. This book is called The Oneness with All Life. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like little nuggets taken from his book called A New Earth. And Eckhart Tolle, amazing soul. I highly recommend if you're wanting just some CDs to listen to like put on and just listen and observe and help him guide you to remembering who Source is. There's a CD series called Living the Liberated Life. I highly recommend. I've actually had many of my students from meditation and yoga get that or listen to it with me just because there's so much beautiful wisdom there. But this is the page that I picked for today. It says, when the dimension of space is lost, or rather not known, the things of the world assume an absolute importance, a seriousness and heaviness that in truth they do not have. When the world is not viewed from the perspective of the formless, it becomes a threatening place, and ultimately a place of despair. The Old Testament prophet must have felt this when he wrote, "All things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it." So if you can tune into what he's saying here is when when this dimension of space is lost or we're not knowing that it's there, then the things of the world become very important. The external situations, the people's opinions, all of this becomes very important when we forget we are infinite source beings. We are infinite energy that cannot be stopped. And when we forget this, we really create suffering on the planet, and we will suffer, and then we co-create suffering. We enable suffering. If I am having a truthful dialogue without fear and there's nothing but love, like the show today is from love. What if somebody started hating me and sending me hate mail, or they're angry, their religion lashes out at me and tries to publicly humiliate me? If something like that were to happen, I would have to just remember who I am, stay centered in love, and realize this is the world. Don't be too attached to it. I'm not calling that forth, let's be clear, because I have no desire to experience that. I feel like I've been there, done that in many lives. But in this lifetime, I can call forth the love. I can call forth the honor. I can ask for it, expect the good. But if I'm speaking truth and others don't honor that, if I'm standing up for truth and justice and others shame me, I don't need to get caught up in it. I understand the game. I understand what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it from fear. So when we get to this place where we're not so connected to the importance of things or external situation, we really become powerful. And what frightens many that want you to believe the only things that matter are things and power and how much money's in your bank account and how many people look up to you and how many degrees are on your wall. All these things mean nothing to the soul, but they mean a lot to the ego. And so a lot of our society will try to seduce us into putting a lot of our time and our energy and our money into these things that really will never fill us. So part of it's taking that power back and going into that stillness inside of yourself and looking for the truth inside, looking for what is it that really makes me feel joy? How may I serve? How is it that I am out of alignment at this time? Where is it I could improve in my life? Maybe I'm tolerating abuse and it's time for it to stop. Maybe I've been very patient, but it's time for me to still be loving as I leave that situation, to still show love and honor as I speak my truth and not worry if people are going to still like me after. I have many family members who have learned Tawnya is going to speak truth. And I have certain family members that adore me for it, that will call me when they're in a jam. They're like, Tawnya, okay, so I'm going through this. What are you feeling? And I'll tune in with them. They show me honor. I have many family members who don't rarely call me at all anymore because they know if Tawnya comes to visit and she sees the elephant in the room and I energetically sense it, everyone is all like, ooh, don't talk about the elephant. My soul's like, what's up with the elephant over here? And they're like, oh my God, she did not just mention the elephant. And so I don't really mind being that person because I've never really felt a need to belong. I've never really felt this need to actually be a part of a club or a team. And I think it's part of what's been a part of my soul to be able to be what I am is to not need that. And we have to really look at these needs to get, oh, I want everyone at the Chamber of Commerce to love me and look up to me and think I'm amazing, or I want everybody at the church to think I'm a good person. And so you do a lot of these things wanting all these extra people's support coming from fear. And if you really, I can still love support. I feel like many support me, but it's not coming from fear anymore. Most of my life, yes, I would please, I would do things to help people, like me more, or what do I have to do so that they actually think I'm smart? So many games that we can play. But if you get to this place where you can just love yourself and be yourself, you'll learn quickly who the ones are that really love you, really quickly. And this is part of what will frighten some of our egos, is that we'll realize that we've already known it. We've already known how many times that we put so much energy into those people that were never really there for us. I look at this as a beautiful moment of liberation. I look at it as a beautiful cleansing. If you've put so much of your time and energy into all the people who really don't give a shit about you, what are you really doing for your life? You're really not giving it anything. You're really stressing yourself out over people who don't give a shit. So that's really what it is, if we're simple. So if you start putting your focus on being true to self, true to source, loving self, and living with integrity and authenticity, then you really start to put your energy into those who love you, the ones who will honor you for that. Like, I've had people come out and tell me stuff like something like being gay and coming out and how frightened they were. And I'm like, I am so proud of you to be so bold and truthful and to be able to claim what you know and what you feel. That is courage. And I bow to you. And they're just like, thank you. And they love that feeling of honor. But at the same time, they have family members who won't even talk to them ever again. I've had family members do that to me over things in my life. And I look at it as a blessing. I really do. At this point in my journey, if someone wants to not talk to me anymore, or they want to, not show love because I'm who I am, farewell, and that's okay. I send you love and light as you move along your journey, because we're all on our journey to understand the highest good for our own soul. And if we get attached to things that limit us, we will suffer. So I hope today's show helped you all with maybe just kind of lit a fire under you, or not even under you, lit a fire within you, and ignited this space of truth and passion and purpose. Because if you can let that fire start to really burn, and you can let it just burn away all of the BS, let it burn away all the facade, all the stuff that you've been putting so much time into to get people to like you, let it burn, let it fall, let it go. Because you are here to live authentically, and the universe wants you to show up. Without you being authentic, there's a part of what was meant to be that will never be here. Think of it that way. It's like if a flower, a rose, is like, I just don't think I should bloom. I think I should have been a tiger lily. That sounds insane. We'd be like, why would a rose ever think such things? Why would humans do that? Why would we think, if I'm who I am, the world will hate me, so I can't bloom. I can't open up my petals and show who I am. Open your petals and be whatever flower you're here to be. And just be it in magnificence. That's what I encourage you to do. So I hope that answered everyone's questions. Is anybody else commenting at the end before we kind of pull it all in?
No.
Good?
No, everything is good.
Okay. Well, I wish you all the best this week, and I truly send you love and light, and hope that you will all do your best every day to start really tuning in to, am I living my life authentically? Am I living with integrity? And to start choosing that and see how amazingly that choice will shift your experiences. So I thank you all for taking time, and thank you so much for writing in. I was really proud of so many of you writing in and sharing. So thank you. And I send you love and light as you move through all these transitions. And I know that you are capable and powerful. So namaste and blessings.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tawnya Love Show, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.